Good afternoon, and welcome back to the Garden of Grace devotion. My name is Pastor Katie, and I'm one of the pastors at Trinity Lutheran Church in Lilburn, Georgia. There's a part of my humanity that I've been particularly in touch with recently, and it's my ability to forget. And while I do seem to have a particular knack for misplacing my car keys or my cell phone, that actually isn't the type of forgetting that I'm talking about. It's my ability to forget the larger, more important things. For example, like the importance of loving God and others that I'm talking about. On Sunday morning, I can feel so moved by a message or a song. Then by Monday, midday, sometimes I catch myself doing something quite contrary to what I just heard or professed. And even it's only a day later. I've just moved on and forgotten, at least momentarily. For example, on Sunday of last week, I didn't just listen to a sermon. With help from the Lord, I offered a sermon on loving God and others, on the importance of loving others even when it's difficult. I talked about how love is patient and love is kind. And by midday on Monday morning, I was driving home from an experience in where I'd found myself being pretty impatient and not particularly loving. The words from the sermon that I preached the day before came to mind. Love is patient. Love is kind. The words came back to me. The same words I'd offered from the pulpit the day before. And I was reminded of how easy it is to get frustrated in the moment. I was reminded of how easy it is to forget. Perhaps that is why I'm so taken with the idea of this small symbol that I recently learned about. For a large part of its purpose is to help people remember. The item that I have with me today is called a mezuzah. I first became familiar with it at my godmother's independent living home in South Florida. I was walking down the hall to go and see her one day, and I saw outside of each of almost all the apartments on the doorframe. The wind blew. The camera fell down. We're ready. I was going to visit my godmother, and I was walking down the hall at her independent living facility in South Florida. And I saw on the outside of each of the apartments on the doorframe was one of these little white jobs, each with Hebrew writing on the outside of it. Doorframe after doorframe after doorframe had one of these on it. Every once in a while, I'd pass one without it. So of course, I had to inquire, what are those things? I was informed that they are mezuzahs. Recently, in preparation for this garden devotion, I purchased a mezuzah from Amazon. This is what it looks like. It came in this box. I even sprung for the one that came with screws. So I got it in the mail. It looks like this. You can see on the outside, it says, "May God's blessing rest upon this house and all who dwell within. May all who enter this house also be blessed." And I purchased the one that has that in English so I could read it and remember. However, this is not actually the mezuzah. The mezuzah is a scroll that goes back here, that goes behind this decorative piece. So I purchased what I thought was this mezuzah, and I got it out of the box, and I said, oh no, what am I going to do? There's no scroll. So I did the thing I know to do, which was to FaceTime with my Jewish relative. So I FaceTimed with Jake, and I said, Jake, I bought a mezuzah, but there's no mezuzah. Because the mezuzah is actually the scroll that goes behind it. So we both had a good laugh at the Christian girl that bought a mezuzah decorative case with apparently the mezuzah sold separately. However, I did some noodling on Amazon and I found out that the mezuzah is actually back here behind the felt. I asked him if it was okay to look back there and he said, absolutely. So I found it. The mezuzah is right back here on the felt piece behind the decorative symbol. I will say that my relative Jake is now very disappointed that we can no longer laugh about the time that I purchased a mezuzah decorative holder without the actual mezuzah. However, it is in here. So this is what a mezuzah decorative holder looks like. Decorative holder, and on the inside, as I showed you in the back, is the actual mezuzah, the scroll. On this scroll are passages from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 through 8, and Deuteronomy chapter 11, verses 13 to 21. Let me read these for you. Deuteronomy 6, 4 to 8 reads, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God. The Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your resources. And these things that I command you today shall be upon your heart, and you shall teach them to your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house and when you go out, when you lie down and when you rise up, and you shall bind them as a sign upon your arm, and they shall be an ornament between your eyes, and you shall write them upon the doorposts of your house and on your gates." Deuteronomy 11, 13 to 21 reads, "And it will be that if you hearken to my commandments that I command you today, to love the Lord your God, and to serve him with all your hearts and all your souls. And I will place rain for your land in its proper time, the early and the late rains, that you may gather in your grain, your wine, and your oil. And I will provide grass in your field for your cattle, and you will eat and you will be satisfied. Watch yourselves, lest your heart be seduced and you turn astray and serve other gods and prostrate yourselves before them. And the wrath of God will be upon you, and he will restrain the heaven, and there will be no rain, and the ground will not yield its produce, and you will be lost quickly from upon the good land that God gives you. And you shall place these words of mine on your hearts and on your souls, and you shall bind them as a seal upon your arms, and they shall be ornaments between your eyes, and you shall teach them to your children to discuss them. When you sit in your house, and when you go on the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and you shall write them upon the doorposts of your house and upon your gates, in order to prolong your days and the days of your children upon the good land that God swore to your fathers to give them, like the days of heaven and earth, like the days of heaven over earth." All of these words are written on the mezuzah, on this tiny scroll in the back of this ornament. These words in the holder, in the frame holder, these words in the decorative holder serve two functions. You're to put them, the Jewish families put them up on their doorposts so that every time they enter or leave, they are reminded that they have a covenant with God. The mezuzah also serves as a symbol to everyone that that particular dwelling is constituted as a Jewish household, operating by a special set of rules, rituals, and beliefs. But it is the first function that I am particularly taken with. The mezuzah is affixed to the doorframe so that every time the person walks past it, leaving or entering, they remember that they are in a relationship of promise with God. In particular, one of the passages hits home for me. It says, that we are to love the Lord our God with all of our heart and all of our mind and all of our soul and all of our strength. And as I read these words, I want to share with you that the all our souls from this verse, that we are to love the Lord with all our soul, can be translated as our life. We'd say it again then if we translate it this way as, we are invited to love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our mind, and with all our life, and with all our strength. What might it look like to love God with your life? What might it look like to have a reminder of these words hanging in a place where you could regularly see it? Now, am I saying that we all need to go out and immediately order a mezuzah? No. Am I saying that I'm converting to Judaism? Also no. Though it's okay if you want to order a mezuzah and hang it on your doorframe. It's okay to borrow an idea from another tradition, especially because the words of Scripture in the mezuzah are common to those who are Jewish, as well as to those who are Christian. Apparently, for a little while, there was even something called a Christzuzah. Yes, I'm serious. There was something called a Christzuzah. It had both Old and New Testament passages in it. I'd like to leave you today, though, with a few questions. What might it look like to have a reminder of your relationship to God and others on your doorframe, or by your mirror, or next to where you hang your car keys? Are there foundational words from Scripture that you might want to put on your doorframe to remind you of your call to love God and others? I've been thinking of putting a couple of Post-it notes up by my door that I use most often to enter and exit the house. A couple of Post-it notes that say, love God, love your neighbor. Maybe if I had done that before this past Monday morning, maybe I would have been a little quicker to remember Sunday's words on Monday if I'd have had these reminders in front of me. So I am thankful for this opportunity to learn about the mezuzah, to have figured out where the scroll is, and to share this knowledge with you. I pray you find it meaningful, and may God's peace be with you until we meet again.